Hello, my name is Dr. Calicdan-Apostle of the Richard Stockton College of New Jersey. Today I'm going to discuss about age diversity in the United States prison system, and this is effectively addressing the healthcare needs of older inmates. Statistics on aging in the United States prison is quite a bit. The number of older prisoners has increased by 750% nationwide, and $60 billion are spent each year to incarcerate U.S. prisoners with aging inmates, comprising the largest subgroup of special needs detainees. If you look at this source that I have from U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Statistics, you will see that there's an increase in percentage of incarceration of crimes committed by people aged 50 and over from 1998 to 2009, with an increase specifically for females if you want to look at age or gender differences, Aging and arrests and crimes committed. Statistics show that there is also an increasing number of arrests for over 50 years of year-old adults, and this near doubling of adult arrests for both male and female were significantly serious felonies leading to incarceration. Majority of older females are incarcerated in state prisons either for murder, sexual crimes, or drugs, while females are more likely to be serving time for murder or drug-related crimes. The population is increasing, and so are the responsibilities. If statistics remain constant, it has been predicted that offenders 50 and older will account for 1/3 of the inmate population by 2030. There are age-related needs that we have to consider here. The small but rapidly growing number of older inmates in the U.S. face a plethora of uniquely specific medical challenges. Even correctional officers are now realizing the enormity of their responsibilities for addressing age-related needs in the areas of health, safety, protection, recreation, and socialization. Let's look at the aging offender. To be old in the prison system requires a colossal task of assessing and assisting in their needs. Aging prisoners are a diverse group in demographics, criminal justice experience, and social and health care needs. There are stressors that, while they are incarcerated, depends on their sentence histories and lengths, but we now must be cognizant of specific needs of new, chronic, and aging offenders. Unique characteristics of first-time offending aging offender would be the shock system that comes on with coping with prison system at a later age, family estrangement, especially when violent crimes were committed against family members, grief issues to loss of freedom, family and friends, guilt issues, sexual and homicidal issues against families, and fear of late life incarceration, which includes frail, vulnerable offenders. Before I move on to discussing about the dichotomies of the different systems that we have with aging prisoners, let's take a look at the systems theories or ecological systems theory as a possible framework on aging in prison. There are three things here done by three authors. Bronflenbrenner has coined ecological systems theory as bio-ecological model, and this system reflects a plethora of mechanisms that have impact on a client's growth, development, and adaptation. Persons directly interacting with or affecting the client, and examples of this include proximal influences such as family, environment, teachers, and peers, and so on. His bioecological systems theory also include indirect forces such as neighborhood characteristics, community crime rates, socioeconomic status, and healthcare policies. And of course, it affects the family as in reference to the client relationship, largely by influencing more proximal factors in the person's context. Germaine's ecological perspective is another theory that we can look at. It is a perspective, not a theory, but it fits into the Bronflenbrenner's theory. This means that we look at, according to Germaine, the needs of a person or collective group's needs, strengths and capacities and goals and qualities and operations of their particular physical and social environments within a particular culture and historical context. Dawes in 1978 has also looked at relative adaptedness, which means that we promote continued development and satisfying social functioning and sustains or enhances the environment, again within the context of person and environment. And when there are exchanges over time between these two areas, the person and the environment, they are generally negative. Development health and social functioning might be impaired and the environment could be damaged. Sands et al. In 1991 looked at individuals adapting to their environments over time through reciprocal transactions. And she coins this as goodness of fit. Goodness of fit, which is the interaction between the person and his environment and creates satisfaction of mutual needs, stressors, the capacity to cope, and provide support. Now, let's look at the issues and challenges again among aging offenders. For now, there is a large body of knowledge available on forecasting future policies for aging prisoners, but it's limited. On longevity, we can look at the offenders as having compared to people outside of the prison system. Longevity is a factor in our lives, especially in the 21st century. In the case of offenders, 46% of offenders over 50 have health problems at the time of their arrival in prison. And older offenders need more medical and mental health services than younger inmates. Female offenders have menopausal problems and slightly more chronic health issues. In the area of end-of-life care and treatment, older men and women account for a disproportionate share of prison deaths. Numbers of deaths have increased from 2001 at 33.9% in state prisons to 45.7% in 2007. Very significant number. Elder prisoners are costly to care for, yet studies indicate that many older inmates represent low risk of reoffending and show high rates of parole success. So we have to look at that aspect of our policy and research. In end of life, hospice facilities are also set up in the prison walls. Resistance to change rules and procedures to accommodate this vulnerable population limits their resources. So we now ask, are prisoners or should prisoners be set up as hospice care facilities? The use of medical and technological advancements also include the idea that inmates have a right to health care under the 8th Amendment. Yes, they have rights inside a prison. Another factor we have to consider in this particular technological advancements for prisoners is that as a unit, we need more doctors, nurses, and correctional officers to train and deal with age-related illnesses, which are not exactly happening at this time. On healthcare management and prison healthcare, we look at housing the inmate, and it's costly. It costs us $22,000 per year. But the average cost of housing an elderly inmate is closer to $70,000, more than 3 times the amount of average housing costs for an inmate. Most of the added costs of imprisoning elderly prisoners are healthcare related. Inmates have a right to health care, again under the 8th Amendment. Prison is not designed for geriatric care and treatment of aging needs such as dementia, Alzheimer's, surgeries that require recovery, and other health-related challenges. Special housing units are available but short of assisted living or skilled nursing care. Special housing units accommodate inmates with special medical needs along with those who have special needs in the younger population. There are moral and ethical dilemmas that we need to consider in looking at aging offenders in the prison. Elderly inmate care are costly, but research reveals that they are not high risk. Some prisons have slowly created hospices to respond to the social, emotional, and physical needs of offenders who are dying. The dignity of dying while in the company of families does not appear to be a policy in the United States. So do we want to change that? What are the moral and ethical issues regarding these factors? Going back to the ecological perspective in the prison system, we now see that the system of care from this perspective of bioecological, that policy and practice is lacking. But the question to ask here is, do we change the goals of the system since the client population is also changing? The goodness of fit, if the aging population's needs are met, such as biopsychosocial, physical, and spiritual, then the growth and development of both the system and the aging inmates do not match. Adaptedness, the system and the clientele population have many more steps to take in order that both can adapt to each other's needs. Only then can relationships between these two systems grow. There are implications for policy and practice in regard to the aging in the prison. I have to look at three areas here: social work, corrections, and healthcare management. In social work, we need to look at evidence-informed based practice where we can really incorporate aging issues into the mix of the system in the prison. Social workers need to be in the prison system, and more social workers need to be hired. In corrections, we need to provide professional training in aging issues and increase research to develop ways to address the aging population in the prison. We might want to consider building prisons that will accommodate geriatric needs. Other implications for policy and practice include healthcare management. We know that costs in healthcare is very high, but we have to look at in details how it's going to affect our prison system. Additional healthcare staff is also crucial to managing the healthcare needs of the aging prisoners. Human rights is in the mix here because we want to do no more harm in our prison population. United States has constitutional rights for all. Medical rights are human rights. In looking at ecological systems, it may be a good framework in critically assessing the care and management of aging inmates. A paper regarding this presentation will be submitted to the Diversity Conference for possible publication. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thank you so much for your time.